All right, we'll get started. We'll call to order the full city council meeting for December 3rd, 2019. The clerk will call a roll and record the attendance.
Anderson Burgos.
Here.
Bartley.
Here.
Bresnahan. Leahy.
Present.
LeBron Martinez.
Here.
Lisi. McGee.
Present.
McGivern.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Sullivan. Here. Tallman.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Valentine.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
in the city of Hoyoke.
And the city council.
First item on the agenda is a public hearing. It's a petition from Verizon New England, Inc., requesting permission to locate poles, wires, cables at the following area: Harvard Street, one pole, and then it gives the dimensions. Reason, place one pole on Harvard Street to support the existing pole line and provide distribution, telecommunications, so on and so forth. There's also, for two, is also Verizon for Jarvis Ave. Be the same, looks like the same thing. Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to take these off the table and refer them to DGR, please.
Second.
Motion is take them off the table, refer them to DGNR. Our discussion?
No, just, I think it's, I think we can have a good frank conversation with our friends at Verizon in committee and hear their, get a little better take on their perspective. Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
Public, yeah.
So just through the chair to the clerk,
Yep, go ahead.
you gotta turn your microphone on, Ben, if you're gonna.
We could open it.
Yeah, so I can make a motion to open the public hearing, and I can continue it. If I do, I'd have to continue it to a date certain, I would imagine. That would be the case?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if anybody came, but
We do
Yeah, we do.
have someone signed
Irma
up.
did speak with somebody, and they were planning on coming. And they give us all the abutter notification cards, and we mail them out
Okay,
from the
so when
office
it's-
with the date.
So when it's appropriate to the chair, I can, if,
Okay.
okay, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what I was, so you would have to open the public hearing, Mr. President, but before you do that, I would just say, because you have to open a public hearing, you have to do it. But we could continue it to a date certain, which would be the next DGR, which would be Monday, December 9th, at December 9th at 6:30. If that's procedurally permissible, then that's what I'd like us to consider, if that makes sense for the body.
I think it makes sense. Counselor McGivern.
Mr. President, I'd like to hear from the petitioner, and if there are any abutters here to talk about at the public hearing, then after that, there is a reason to refer them to committee. That's procedurally fine, but I think with all due respect, we don't know what the gist is, if these are time sensitive or if there's a need for these projects to be done very quickly.
Counselor Leahy.
Yeah, I too. I'm not used to sending these to committee. If it did go to committee, it'd probably be the finance committee, I would suggest. However, having said that, I do see some neighbors in the audience, and this was advertised. So, I guess I want to hear from both sides.
Yep, and just to let everyone know, Counselor Bartley did come up before the meeting asking if we could send this to committee, and I said it's something we should because of the emails that a lot of us did receive to allow the public to have a chance to come out, especially with the snow and all the issues that we've seen, allow the people who did email us a chance to speak. But I understand procedurally what Counselor McGivern is saying, so motion would be to open the public hearing to then allow people to speak on it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we'll open it up to Verizon. Is there anyone here from Verizon? If you can come up to the microphone, make sure it's on. Can you just, there's a switch underneath.
How's that?
Perfect.
Paul Davis, representing Verizon. The basic idea on Harvard Street is that currently there's a rear lot line that runs between Pleasant Street and Cleveland Street. And the proposed idea is to take the aerial rear lot cable down from pole 6 the proposed pole tonight on the petition plan is 6S. So to take that aerial cable down and run any future service from that pole 6 over to Pleasant Street underground. So the aerial cable beyond pole 6 would be taken out. However, in doing that, you need to guy that pole 6 with the proposed petition plan pole tonight, pole 6S. So that would be literally across the street from where pole 6 exists today. So that's the basic plan, again, is to take down the aerial cable beyond pole 6, support that pole line prior to pole 6 with pole 6.5 that's being petitioned tonight. And that's it.
Counselor Lisi.
Would that pole 6.5 be temporary until the line is run underground, or?
The pole 6S, you mean, on the
Yeah.
petition? No, the pole 6S would be a permanent pole. So that pole would support the pole line from pole 6 and all the poles before it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Counselor Leahy.
Sir, why can't you go underground with this?
You can, however, again, beyond pole 6, that aerial cable will be taken out. Like I said earlier, from pole 6, any future service would be run underground.
My understanding, it's about 30 feet.
Across the street?
Yeah.
Yes.
So why could you just add on 30 feet
To, not following you.
for your needs?
Well, the sub-pole across the street would be a supporting pole. So from pole 6 to the petition pole, there would be a guy wire and then a down guy to support, again, the pole line prior to pole 6.
And are you taking out a pole as well?
We're taking out the cable and all the poles beyond pole 6, yes. In the rear lot line that goes between Pleasant Street and Cleveland Street.
The cable TV line, is that what you're saying?
No, the cable, telephone cable,
Telephone cable?
yeah.
Okay. And I just have a question on that, if I could. So like when storms happen and your telephone wires come off these poles, how come you guys aren't too fast to respond?
I don't know anything about that, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll give you an example. A constituent of mine had a cable that came down, and they pretty much said you have to get your own electrician to come and cut it.
Again, I don't know anything about that, so I can't comment on that.
Interesting. Thank you.
Anyone further for Verizon? If not, if there's anyone that would speak else in the neighborhood who would like to speak with regards to this, come up. Name and address.
I'm Mark Hoy. I'm at 25 Cleveland Street, but it is a corner lot, and the other lot line is on Harvard Street.
Over the
The
microphone.
other lot line is on Harvard Street, where this new pole is being proposed. And it looks pretty bad right there now. If you go there, there's poles going each way. I've got poles on three property lines, 3 sides of my house already. On Cleveland Street, on Harvard Street, and on the lot line going between. Although he's going to take down some wires, putting a pole right at the end of the driveway where there's only another pole 30 feet away is going to be pretty bad looking. I mean, there's already blight in that area right now. So my question is, I mean, aren't there other ways to accomplish this? I looked at it today, and there's probably only another 500 feet of line that goes to Yale Street, and then it's underground anyway. So this is the only piece of Verizon line that's north of the dingle that's going to run between property lines. So the question that I had for Verizon, why can't you just do the thing, clean it up now rather than put this pole up permanently and, 30 feet away from an existing pole? It looks pretty bad right there now. It's going to look worse.
Anyone further? I know there were.
One other question. You mentioned this is going to have to be anchored and guide north of the pole, which means right on my property. So I don't know if there's permission needed. Does Verizon need permission to go on private property to guy a pole? Because when HG&E moved the line on Pleasant Street from one side, Cleveland, from one side of the street to the other, and put another pole on the tree belt on my Cleveland Street side, they asked my permission to guy that pole onto my property, which I did, because it was a good move for HG&E to get out of the woods. because it was, that line, you know where that line is, that line was down all the time. So my question is, if approval is needed, we're not granting approval. I guess it's a statement, not a question.
All right, so with that,
Well, can we have the gentleman answer those questions?
if he's not ready to answer them now, or if he doesn't have the,
So the answers to the questions is that in regards to the private property issue, we're petitioning tonight to be on city property. Where this proposed pole will be between the curb and the sidewalk, roughly about 3 feet, as close to the sidewalk as possible to get it away from the road. The anchoring would be right behind the sidewalk, roughly about 4 feet. They do that with what they call a sidewalk guy. There's an arm, guy wire comes out to the arm and comes straight down. So it'd be roughly 4 feet. So the pole and the anchor would both be on city property. That answers that question. In regards to the cleanup, and it's a tight space, I do agree, it is tight, but that's the only way you can basically support that pole, if that pole is approved. In regards to the cleanup, again, I'm not really privy to what's going on out there in that neighborhood. However, taking down the cable, I would assume, would clean up any aerial issues that are going beyond, again, pole 6. So that's my answer to any cleanup issues or making it look aesthetically better.
any further questions? I do have one question while you're there. Is this the same petition that you had about 4 years ago?
Yes,
And why was that leave to withdraw, or?
I do not know, but I was told this petition's been going on for quite a while, so I don't know the details to that.
It's here, and then it was removed by Verizon's request.
Not certain.
All right, that we'd need an answer to, because is it the same exact pole and the same exact need, nothing's really changed, then I'm still trying to figure out what the real urgency is. So, I mean, we'll find out on committee. Mark, if you want to.
I just wanted to disagree that the city owns 4 feet beyond the sidewalk. I mean, I've seen the property pins. It's almost a foot away from the sidewalk. So, I mean, I haven't seen any survey crews out there. I haven't seen them identify any markers, but 4 feet to the north of that sidewalk is private property.
All right. Yep.
Let me be perfectly clear. The pole would be right in front of the sidewalk. The sidewalk is 4 feet wide, roughly. The anchor would be right behind the sidewalk, 4 feet from the pole, not into anybody's private property.
All right.
Well, that's a
So
good
with
question.
that, Councilor Leahy.
That's a tight area to begin with when you're coming out for traffic-wise. Pleasant Street is a great street, and however, since we installed some traffic calming devices up on River Terrace or whatnot, it still leads to a lot of speeding. And so coming up, and now you have a new pole that's going to be on your right-hand side. I mean, I live in that neighborhood, and I have children that are driving, not very well, but they're driving. And I'm afraid that they're, going to have issues when they're taking your right-hand side.
So, I mean, if we want, we can continue the public hearing to December 9th at 6:30.
Well, I mean, I'm ready to vote no on this. We voted no 4 years ago for these specific reasons. In fact, I think that they pulled out because, and this is my own opinion, they saw the writing on the wall.
However you guys want. I'm just letting you know the options. You can send it, or you can vote on it tonight. What is the will of the body? Is there a motion?
Motion to continue the public hearing.
Oh,
and-
hold on, Councilor Martinez.
So, I mean, I understand there's abutters here who are not in favor, but my question is, what would be the outcome for the service that Verizon is providing to the rest of the residents? What does it mean? Meaning, if they don't do the job that they have to do? I'm just curious if I can ask a question on that. What would it mean?
Still open.
2 things. Nothing gets done. That's the first option. Or Verizon would have to go back out, resurvey, re-engineer, and find a different way to provide future service up Pleasant Street, if that's the case. So again, Verizon does nothing, or again, if they can get the pole, they can provide that underground service in the future up to Pleasant Street.
You have a follow-up?
Well, yeah, follow up. So my question is this because it's lacking any service right now, or is it, what's the issue of having to do this pole, additional pole?
Currently, from what I gather, Verizon would like to get out of the rear lot line situation, first of all. Basically, long story short, it's kind of a maintenance nightmare in regards to maintenance, as he mentioned earlier. It's tough to get to poles behind homes and that type of thing, especially when they're landlocked behind homes on one side and on the other. So they like to try to get out of the rear lot situations if possible. Other than that, from what I gather, there are no workers beyond pole 6. So if they can take down cable that has no working lines in it, again, there's no maintenance issues. You don't have to worry about it falling down from the pole line, and it's basically useless cable. So they like to try to take down stuff that isn't working if they can.
Thank you.
Anyway, Councilor Anderson Burgos, do you have a question? No. Okay. Councilor McGivern?
If I could, on the rear lot pole, does Verizon pay a fee or a rent to the property owner?
To the property owner? No, they lease the poles, but to the property owner, no.
And who do they lease the poles from?
I'm not certain about that, but what I've been told that they do lease the poles, correct?
Just on the motion,
So what is the motion?
to continue the public hearing to Monday, December 9th at 6:30 PM.
Motion and second is to continue the public hearing to December 9th at 6:30
In DGR.
in DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. That's for 1 and 2. Public comment?
Wait a minute, we didn't hear about 2. I didn't realize that they were taken up as a package.
Oh, I thought we were, but that, I said.
I don't think we heard anything about number 2.
Two, no.
I read 2 as well. I said 2 was also from Verizon for Jarvis Ave. If you want, we can, 1 is off to DGNR. 2, since there is confusion, it's a petition from Verizon and Hoyok Gas and Electric requesting permission to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including anchors. Jarvis Ave, place 1, jointly owned pole number T.30-01, so on and so forth. Replace 1 jointly owned pole on Jarvis Ave to eliminate a trespass and to provide communications, etc. So motion for this one, or to take up at all?
Yeah, motion to open the public hearing and hear from the petitioner about.
Motion is to open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Verizon on number 2.
Okay, the proposed idea here on Jarvis Ave, this is a private property pole situation where the pole resides on private property. Verizon would like to take that pole and move it off of private property and put it on city property. So currently, the pole resides 11 feet off the edge of the road. They like to bring that pole within 3 to 4 feet of the edge of the road to get it, again, on city property, so it's not on somebody's private property.
Is there anyone here to speak on that issue?
Anyone here from Jarvis Ave for that location? I hear none.
Motion then to continue the public hearing to the 9th at 6:30.
Motion is to continue it to DGNR on December 9th at 6:30. It was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, public comment. I have one. It was Mark Hoy from 25 Cleveland Street. Mark, are you all set, or? Okay. There's no one further, so public comment is done. Communications from the auditor. It's the monthly budget, general fund and sewer fund. Motion be received to finance.
Refer to finance.
All those in favor?
Happy to finance.
All those opposed? 4 is from Alicia Zoller with regards to the Community Development Block Grant Fund. Everyone got this in an email. Motion be received. refer to
DGR?
DGNR.
There.
All those in
For
favor?
CDBG?
Aye.
Aye. Solar,
Uh,
number 4.
5 is from Anthony Delude,
Into you.
history of the free cash, certified by the DOR. Everyone should have received a copy of this, and when we usually have everything
Motion
certified.
made, second, receive for a copy to finance.
Motion to receive, refer a copy of finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6 is from Marcos Mero regarding 45 Lower Westfield Road.
Receive and send to DGNR.
Motion to receive, refer to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? 7 is the Hoyoke CPA annual budget for 2020. As it states, request that the City Council vote to appropriate or reserve from the Community Preservation Fund annual revenues in the amount recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for the community administration expenses and the reserves in the fiscal year 2020. And then they go through appropriation. The CPA collection was $500,000. The state CPA match was $100,000. The budget would be administrative expenses $30,000, historic resources $60,000, community housing $60,000, open space recreation $60,000, remainder of $390. So the grand total of $600,000.
Mr. President?
Yep.
Yeah, I do want to send this to finance, but I do want to take up, I put a late file in, probably late file 1, I would imagine, but I'll defer to the clerk on that. It was for the, yeah, it's the only late file I have. Yeah. That's, I can tell by the backing sheet, Mr. President. If you could just take that up, and I'd like to send that along with this number 7 to finance, if we could.
Second.
So the motion is to take up late file A. That was seconded. Under discussion, Counselor Sullivan.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to receive and approve this here tonight. These numbers, it's,
Oh, sure. No problem. Sorry.
it's not a, it's not an item that, the numbers that are appropriated are the minimum numbers by the state law, all right? We have to have this done before the end of the year, all right? If it's not done by the end of the year, we lose the whole 600,000, so forget it.
No, I would draw that. Yeah, I don't mind.
Counselor Sullivan has the floor. Keep going. Anything else?
Yeah, it's that simple. The numbers being presented for appropriation are the minimum numbers that we must set aside for each of the 3 categories and for the administrative expenses. All right, so it's really not a controversial issue or anything to debate. It is what it is.
Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I apologize, Mike. I didn't want to, I was just going to send it for informational purposes, but that's why my late file is related to this. And I don't know if every counselor got it, but it'll certainly be added to the next agenda as a late file, and every counselor will get it. And that really just shows how all the CPA is going to affect all sorts of property-related transactions starting December 31st. They're all going up to fund the CPA funds, if you will. So all recording fees and all sorts of things are just going, really being raised specifically for CPA funds. And so I just want the public to be aware of that. Thank you.
All right, so the motion was to take
Mr.
up
President.
late file. Oh, Counselor Murphy, sorry.
So do we know, in comparison with the 600,000 to what we appropriated for various programs this past year?
Well, the past year, we had 2 years' worth of funds
Okay, and
to
how much?
work with. This year, we only have 1 year's worth of funds to work with.
So with the 2 years, how much did we appropriate, do you know?
It was, I believe, 1.2 or 1.3 million.
Sounds about right.
Okay, so all we're doing here is accepting a formula. We're not accepting any programs paid out of that yet.
Correct. This is not voting on any of the programs. This is just
There was something.
accepting the 600,000 and the percentages that are state mandated to go with each of the categories, whether it's historic, housing, open
Recreational.
space, and then for the administrative, which is 30% for each, I'm sorry, 10% for each one, all right? So, and then that leaves 60 in general funds available, and that's what goes on. And even though we accept the 10%, that doesn't mean we have to spend any of it in any of those particular categories either. It can still sit and carry over till the next year. So this isn't to approve the spending of any money, it's just to receive it and the terms that go along with it.
But if we don't spend that 10% in that category, we have to keep it over till the next year, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
It can't be spent in another category.
thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will vote in favor of this based on what Councilor Sullivan has said, understanding. He's worked very hard, I think, on all the CPA issues and worked very hard with the, as a member of the committee itself. Because we were passing a budget, there were just two things on the floor this evening, which I have no problem with. I would suggest, I know we got an email, but that we should have a hard copy of this when we're voting on something on the same evening. So my only question is if Councilor Sullivan could, or if someone else could, is a breakdown of the administrative costs, where that goes.
I can't do that off the top of my head. There's a portion of it is for the administrative assistant, then some of it's for printing, some of it's for signage, some of it's miscellaneous.
Does
Office
the committee
expenses.
vote on the administrative costs as it goes along?
They do, and then it has to be sent, I believe that's also sent here, just like any of the other portions.
Well, the projects will need our final approval. I just, as long as the committee is governing the budget, where it comes to their miscellaneous, administrative, whatever costs there are, that's fine.
Correct, that it is.
Just,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
We can always ask for a copy to be sent to us. Anyone further?
I think I know I received.
We have
a
electronic
copy.
copies.
Right.
If people don't have it, we can get them the updated one. Make it easy.
All right, I mean, the one, would you mind reading the one we have? It just gives a breakdown so everybody can hear it and the public, what the minimums are and then what's left over.
Yeah, I just read that, but it is for administrative expenses, 30,000. Historic resources, 60,000. Housing, 60,000. Open space recreation, 60,000. Remainder, 390. So the grand total, 600,000. That's how you're being allocated out. So first was a motion. It was seconded to take up late file A with this. Is that being withdrawn?
No, we can take it up right now. Sure, it goes right, it's.
All right, so you're going to take it up with 7
Yeah.
as a package?
Yeah, just receive it or approve it, whatever.
Send it.
All right, so taking A with 7 as a package, all those in favor?
No, we're acting on them separately.
We can act on them separately,
You want it
that's fine.
separate? Okay. So first, let's deal with A, since we're going to suspend the rules to take it up. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? First, go to 7. 7 is the approval of the breakdown for the CPA fund or CPC fund. Motion would be to
Receive and approve.
receive and
Second.
approve. Do a roll call to approve it or not approve it. Clerk will call the roll. First one polled was Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Unanimous vote of the body.
Put your vote, you approved it. Then with late file A, Counselor Bartley wanted to be received and sent to finance or
No, just receive.
just motion is to receive. All
Second.
those in favor?
President, could you read it for the record?
Yes, please.
It is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts amended Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, Section 8, attention notice of statewide recording fee changes effective December 31st, 2019. Statewide recording fees for the Community Preservation Act will increase $10 to $25 and from $20 to $50 due to the enactment of the fiscal year 20 budget. And recordings submitted postmarked December 30th, 2019 or earlier may be accepted at the 10/20 rate. And it goes through the law itself, increasing the fees.
Yeah, so Mr. President, all that means is that anybody selling property is going to find that their proceeds are lessened by that amount.
Correct.
Because all those funds are going to go towards, instead of to the seller of the property, they're going to go to funding the CPA.
Correct.
I just want to get that on the record. Thank you.
Anyone further? Okay. So motion is that we receive it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 8 is from the Fire Commission, minutes.
Motion received.
Just
Motion is
make
to
a
receive.
comment, Mr. President.
Counselor Murphy.
Just, I'm extremely happy to see that we have put money and we've approved bids for the fire station roof at station number 3, and I know they're talking about getting it done before winter. I don't know if we just had winter or not, but hopefully it's in progress. But I also want to encourage both the mayor, the DPW, and the fire commission to go with the revolving fund that we've established, that there are other needs that are imperative. The station on Homestead Avenue, I know, needs repairs, so that, you know, let's keep working with those funds. Let's get everything moving so that we can have a healthy, safer environmental situation for the firefighters.
Yep. So motion is to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? President's report. I know a lot of us received phone calls last night and today and emails regarding certain streets not being plowed. We'll have a late file on that to see kind of what happened. It was a bad snowstorm. Things happen, but we still have to get answers out to people who have been impacted by it. So we'll have Mike come in and see kind of what happened there and see what really occurred. It was a bad storm. They did the best they could, but at the same time, I think people would like to hear kind of what happened openly on this one. As a reminder, because it came up at the beginning, January 4th is the full city council's Christmas party. Just a reminder, because it was asked again. So January 4th, more information to come on that, but just mark your calendars. With that, I'll open up any other reports from anyone missing any events. Councilor Bartley?
I don't have an event. I'll defer. I just want to take up your late file when, after Gladys.
Councilor Born Martinez?
Just again reminding everyone that there's going to be the community dinner that it takes place at Kelly School this the 5th, and everybody's welcome and letting everyone else know. It's just a community gathering. Thank you.
What's on the menu?
Good meal.
Good
Good
stuff.
meal. Food will be provided. Yes.
Anyone else? Anyone? No?
Can we take up your late file?
I still got to write it out, Counselor. I got here, I'm looking for the form. But it's just a late file to bring in DPW.
Yeah, because I'll sign on to that, because that was,
No, as we go through it, we'll get it. Anything further? Anyone else missing assignments or meetings? All right.
Just a friendly reminder,
Yep,
item 9,
Counselor Bacon.
petition.
No.
What?
skip
Item
9.
9, the petition.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so off to, I
skipped-
apologize, I understand what you're saying. Petitions for Hoyoke special permit for 7.10,
Ordinance?
sent to ordinance for 380 Dwight Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed to ordinance. Reports of committees, first one is ordinance. Item 10A. We have an ordinance, zone change application submitted for 40 Lyman Street for current zone DR change to IG, considered to be approved. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the motion is to pass the first reading.
Motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading, or discussion.
Thank you. This was a rather interesting zone change request that came in with a very high degree of community support to reuse a building that people know as the Franco Club. And it was an interesting situation. We did receive a recommendation from the planning board to approve this zone change, even though it is a spot zone. Now, usually, the planning board would not support this, and usually I wouldn't either. However, because we've had such an interesting zoning history in the city, we're often left with properties that are very difficult to keep in concert with everything else around it. And so I do think while there is an interest for uniformity, there are sometimes special circumstances that arise in a neighborhood, and if the project and the use enjoys a high degree of support from the neighborhood, that we should be open to consider that, which is why I voted yes in committee for this, where typically I would not support a spot zone. So it's a unique situation, but I think every once in a while we come up against these, and we have historically from time to time addressed situations similar to this, although not exact. So this approval recommendation from the ordinance committee comes to you with a vote of 4-1 out of committee tonight. I think there are some legitimate arguments on both sides of this particular recommendation, but there you have it in the brief summary.
Anyone further? Counselor Murphy.
Yeah, as the one that voted against it, I'm still trying to do some more research, but I will, and I've tried to make, obviously with the schools being canceled, kind of left me without making phone calls the last couple of days, and then with Thanksgiving, that didn't help either, so I haven't really found answers. I've seen things that make me indicate that it's probably not a school. I do know that we have students from Holyoke school system that use it, and I'm getting the assumption and that they're using it as a service and not as an educational school situation. So with that in mind, and with the potential use that is being planned, that they would have to come back to us again for a special permit, I will be okay to go with the zone change tonight and still trying to find out exactly what is in the building at 30 Center Street, which is about 120 feet from the proposed site. And my concern was an educational K through 12 being so close to a retail marijuana facility. So but with all the stuff I found out so far, and I haven't been able to get a clearer understanding that it is in fact a school system, although I know when the schools were canceled, the announcement said that it was canceled, the Center Street School was canceled. But with that in mind, I will vote for the zone change tonight, but with the idea that if in fact there is evidence that it is a school, when it comes back to the proposal, I could not support that.
Counselor Bacon, you had-
Thank you. I just wanted to remind my fellow counselors that in approving the zone change, while this is a specific proposal that has been described, all uses within the zone would apply to this property once it's approved, should it pass tonight.
Counselor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be voting in favor of the zone change for a few reasons. One most important is that there was strong support from the immediate neighborhood who spoke in favor of the zone change because they wanted to see something different take place on this piece of property. The neighborhood includes not just the property owners, but the renters and the apartment buildings that abut it were notified for the public hearing. They came out, some of them came out in support of the zone change itself. This is one of those, and I did vote for a downtown residential zone blanket change of zone where property owners' zones were changed in many different areas below Beach Street down to the river for a good purpose. But this was a business that got their zone changed. It wasn't IG, but they got their commercial zone changed. It was always a business, not residential. And I think we have to be, aware of that when a property owner gets their zone changed on a blanket proposal, that we, even though it's for a good purpose, for the overall good, downtown residential made sense, that we should be able to abide by allowing to change the zone to something that makes more sense in terms of the profitability of their commercial property itself.
Counselor Lisi.
Thank you. So I won't repeat some of the comments that were already made, but what I will say is that it is a spot zone change, and we usually guard against that because we want everybody to be basically in the same sort of use category so that you don't have different sorts of noxious uses next to one another. And I think what we could do in this situation, clearly the committee has voted to move forward on the spot zone change, but one way that we could have avoided that spot zone change is to allow by special permit marijuana uses in the downtown residential zone so that you would allow that area, that parcel, to retain its downtown residential zoning, but also allow for the additional uses of, marijuana, either facilities or retails. I mean, that could all be sorted out in committee, but it's something that I'll probably file and follow up on because I think that it makes sense. The other thing that came up in committee was that the neighborhood was very much in support of this one project and this one proposal, which is going to be a marijuana retail facility. And so if the applicant does not come forward with a special permit and or if that special permit is not approved, then I don't know if the neighborhood would actually want to see the zone change to the more, commercial, industrial general zone. And we had noted to the petitioners that if, things don't move forward with the marijuana facility, that there's a way for the neighborhood to petition and also the city council to just apply a new zone change application to the parcel to return it back to the downtown residential use so that the neighborhood is protected from other uses that would be allowed in IG if it's not actually going to be that one use that was supported by the neighborhood.
Counselor Bartley?
Thank you. I'm going to support this, Mr. President, for several of the aforementioned reasons. I think the only overwhelming neighborhood support, we also get the chance to look at the special permit when it comes back, if in fact they do this, which I believe they will. I think the one thing that hasn't been said tonight is a tremendous investment in what is basically, I'll be kind, it's a dilapidated hole in the ground that's been an eyesore for a number of years. And once again, I'm going to take another victory lap on this because it's deserved. Once again, it proves that we made the right decision to put this in IG when we did this 3 or 4 years ago. Now, why did we do that? We didn't do that for any other reason but to, or at least I didn't, to make sure that areas of the community that have sorely lacked any investment for decades, Mr. President, decades, were just proven right again. I mean, again and again, the IG zone, we're correct. Investment in the IG zone. Why would we want to dilute it, Mr. President, to allow it in a DR zone, which is everywhere? I completely oppose that, and I look forward to voting against that, if in fact that's ever filed. It just shows that we made a thoughtful decision. Those of us who supported it a few years ago, and we're proven right once again. And I'm just grateful that I was in that majority. Super majority, as a matter of fact, Mr. President, that got that passed. So it was a thoughtful decision, and here we are, again. Now, if we're gonna look for more investment in downtown, what did this just show? Well, that we're willing to, spot zone be darned. We're willing to at least look like this as another potential investment. So we're taking what could be a spot zoning. The planning board went ahead with a spot zoning. They gave us a political opinion in their letter, and my response to them, Mr. President, I'll respond now, is pull papers and run for office and come down and pass ordinances yourself. Don't tell us what to do with ordinances. But pull papers, run for election like we all do. But hold on, I got the floor. It's on point. So, but they haven't done that yet. So I'm very grateful that we did this. Took that vote. I want to see this continue, see the investment continue, and now that we've set this precedent, if we do indeed vote for it tonight, to change the zone, to allow this to go through, I think it just shows that we are as flexible as can be. We don't need to have any kind of a zone change relative to this. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. Councilor Lisi brought up some excellent points. And if I could, through the chair, what's the time frame on that if we don't see anything happening? Like, I know that we've given, like, what is that vibrating over
I
there?
think it's the...
Something's wrong with it.
I lost my train of thought.
The time frame.
So I lost my time frame. So we've given the property in Pleasant Street, if anything doesn't happen within a year, we take it back, and the reverter clauses, thank you, Peter. Is there anything like that? Is that what you mean?
We can't.
Well, nope, hold on. Counselor Vacan, to the question, is there a reverter clause?
No, this is a zone change. We can't put a reverter clause on a zone change, but the citizens could petition to change it back.
And there's no time frame on that. They could do it day one if they choose to.
Well, there are timeframes associated with it once they file it.
Okay.
And then it depends if they prevail or if they do not. In most cases, a property owner is not warm to changing the zone back once
Sure.
they've sought
Correct.
a zone change. We've been to that rodeo.
Yeah, sure, oh, yeah.
But it is possible.
Right.
And in every situation, there's unique reasons.
Yeah,
Once it comes before, if it is denied, I believe there is a 2-year wait.
2-year, wait,
I
okay.
believe, if I'm recalling correctly.
All right, no, thank you. So, a lot of great points have been brought up. I am going to support this, and I think it's going to be a good avenue to make this place, this area, much brighter and more vibrant place. But I'm just glad there's other avenues we can look down the road. So thank you.
On the motion.
Counselor Lisi, then Counselor McGivern.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that I think that the IG zone is absolutely appropriate for the large-scale marijuana manufacturing that we've been able to attract in the city, but there are other sorts of uses that we could issue special permits for. And so what we're doing in this case is we're turning a single parcel in a downtown residential neighborhood into an IG to create the ability for this sort of use to go in there. And that's not how you do zoning. I mean, we want things to have like a logic and reason, and I think harmony is a good way to put it. And so I do think that allowing perhaps particular sorts of marijuana uses in a downtown residential zone does make sense. And so we're doing a zone change tonight exactly because there's a need and an interest for this sort of business to take place as a mechanism for downtown revitalization that is not currently being met with the IG-only zoning of the special permit ordinance that we have. Thank you.
Counselor McGivern?
There is a need, and there's a defined need, and because of that, I don't believe that this meets the criteria for spot zoning. Spot zoning terminology is thrown out so easily in these chambers. It is not spot zoning until something happens that is determined. Oftentimes, it has to be determined in a court of law that a spot zone took place. If you look at our zoning map, Holyoke is one big spot zone if you go only by zone versus a budding zone. That's the way the city was created. What I'm worried about, and not just this particular property, but hearing things that people invest in commercial property in this city. We need that investment. And yet we throw around, we can change your zone. We can make it downtown residential because it's for the better good. We can change back a commercial zone for a project that didn't go through. People are investing in commercial property. We have to protect that investment to protect the residential communities that we have. And the only way we're going to be a stronger city is to recognize this.
Counselor
motion.
Tomlin. Counselor Tomlin for the first time.
I'll be brief. Okay, Counselor?
We're arguing we're all in favor of it, but we're arguing.
I'm not arguing. I just want to make a point that I think it's important, clearly, that the neighborhood wanted this project, and the ordinance committee worked very hard on putting this together and listened to the people and to the project itself. And it's important that we have people that are willing to invest in our community, especially in a neighborhood like that. And I applaud Councilor Murphy, because that was one of my concerns also, was a school nearby. And coming out today and with your thoughts on that, I think this will be a good fit to the neighborhood, and it's important that we welcome people into our community and have them invest in, and to help them to invest in what we need is dollars in our community, and people that possibly give some good jobs in our community in that area. So I am definitely in favor of this project and this zone change.
Counselor Reagan, do you have anything to add?
Just briefly, I just wanted to make a comment relative to Councilor McGivern's comment on the blanket zoning. And this is why I'm not a fan of blanket zoning, because when that happened, it took a commercial property that had never been residential and made it residential. So really, what we're doing to some degree is returning it to what its original zone was. Similar, not exact.
Similar.
Thank you.
So the motion was to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for this item.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBrun Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approved it. 10B, Committee on Ordinances referred a handicap sign be placed at 9 Gate Street. Recommended that be adopted.
Motion to receive, adopt, and pass the first
Motion
reading.
is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Counselor Bacon.
This is a straightforward handicap sign application that was reviewed. The timing of it was perfect. And our Disabilities Committee did the site visit and was able to recommend in favor of it for our meeting.
Just find out that we didn't get the language for this because it was passed on Tuesday.
Oh, I didn't notice
So-
it wasn't there.
Want to just lay it on the table until?
Okay.
And I did forget to mention this, legal, Crystal is coming tonight. She had an event that was supposed to be last night, it got moved up because of the snow to tonight, so she's running from that to here, but she'll be here, so.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ryan. Motion to table for
Motion is
legal
to
language then.
table 10B until we get the legal language. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
those opposed? Finance, there was no meeting last night. This was left on the agenda as a waiting disposition to see if any of the grants had any time issues or anything. Counselor McGivern, do we know, or?
I checked with the DPW and the, Mike told me he's gonna check with the engineer to make sure that their grants were okay. I didn't hear anything back, so I think we have some time. I heard nothing from Maria at the library, and some of the other stuff is just updating as we go along. I did contact the union president for the contract in front of us. There is no appropriation in front of us, so there's no time sensitivity there. And the ambulance is important, but I think it can wait to one more meeting and hopefully get it in before our next city council meeting itself. I wanted to meet last night, Mr. President, but I learned that when City Hall closes, our custodians don't even come in.
Yeah,
They used to come in and do snow work.
When the city hall closes down, everything closes. So there is no
DPW.
finance at this time. So all of 11, nothing can be acted on, or nothing is going to be taken from committee to act on. That leaves public safety, there's none. Public services, there's none. DGNR, there's none. Charter and rules, none. Joint committee, nothing. 2 motions, orders, and resolutions. The first one, number
President, can we
17.
take, suspend and take 17, 18, 19 as a package, please?
Second.
Motion to
And
suspend
send
rules.
them all to committee, please.
Motion
DGR.
is to
Yes, please. Sorry
suspend the
about that,
rules,
ladies.
take up 17, 18, 19 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 17 is from Counselor Bartley at the City Council. Encourages all city department heads to provide correspondence in both Spanish-speaking as feasible. 18 from Counselor Bartley that the City Council encourages the mayor and the receiver respectively to post information on 2020 census on the city webpage and Channel 15. And 19 is that the DGNR committee host a U.S. Census employee an upcoming meeting to learn about the census, all to DGNR,
Second.
correct?
Yeah, all to DGNR. They're
Second.
All those in
self-explanatory.
favor?
Yep.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
She just wants to sign the committee report.
And item 20, Mr. President, make a motion to suspend the rules
Second.
to adopt this evening.
Receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Counselor McGivern.
Mr. President, this is the accounting maneuver that we make each meeting so that any one of our law enforcement or firefighters that are off on injured on duty, even if it's a short period of time, we remove it from the salary account and put it into the injured on duty account, so we know that the money spent was not providing service, but of course duly recognize that the individual has it coming to them.
So the motion is standard for injured on duty.
Sergeants.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people.
Wow.
That's a lot. So motion is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is
Second.
passed the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer for injured on duty.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Bresnahan. Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Valentine. Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the transfer. 21,
Make a motion to suspend the rules and take 21, 22 together, refer to Committee on Finance.
Second.
let's take up 21 and 22 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 21 and 22 to finance. 21 is from paid chief of wire, $7,808.47 to inspections, same amount. And 22 is order of sum of $6,540 is appropriated to pay for the capital planning project, which is the water main replacement, both to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain on item 21.
And Counselor Leahy will abstain on 21.
Mr. President, if I could,
Counselor Leahy? Yep.
I apologize, I should have added it onto your President's report. I did talk to Tony DeWood from the Assessor's Office, and I know we're coming to the end of the year, and he has posted the tax classification hearing. It's going to be, their meeting is going to be on December 12th at 5:30 PM in the chambers here. Their delay has been getting both the value certified and the free cash, which I don't believe, well, there is no free cash, but I don't believe the state has certified that negative number or whatever it's going to be. But that evening, a couple of good things are happening. That evening will be for them to show the values and have a public hearing for the entire city, and for us to, we eventually, perhaps the next Tuesday, can do our vote on tax classification. We talked about this earlier in the year, and it's even better than what we talked about early in the year when we met with Mr. DeLude. It was a seller's market this year for single-family homes, and the value of single-family homes are up big time. And there's going to be some forthcoming request to be able to use the new growth, and I guess is the best way to explain it, to offset, the fact that we don't have free cash.
Anything further? All right, so 23 is from Counselor Murphy. Order that the city council ask the city engineer to review the parking on Sargent Street between Main and Race Street and recommend the best location to have 4 parking spaces for 30-minute parking.
Make a motion to be adopted, sent to the city engineer with a copy to the ordinance committee.
Motion is to receive and adopt with a copy to ordinance, and request should be 11/7. So you want it back in a certain time frame? Is that what you're asking?
He's usually pretty good working with the ordinance committee, so I
Okay,
think
so receive,
he gets a
adopt,
copy.
and a copy to ordinance.
One of the, if I
Councilor
can,
Murphy.
I mean,
Second.
this is for a company on Sargent Street that is going to be in the cannabis industry and is looking to open very shortly, which is one of the reasons I filed the next order. So he's asking, we've taken a look at the parking situation. It's not the greatest. There is a lot next door, but he can't seem to work out an agreement to be able to use some of that for parking. So he's just looking for a chance to have some customer parking in and out. And he's looking for 3 to 5 spots, so.
Councilor McGivern.
Just procedurally, if you're looking to put this into an ordinance, we can't adopt it this evening. We need to refer it to ordinance committee with a copy to the engineer.
I think the way he's saying it is he wants to receive, adopt it, to send it to the engineer to look at it, measure it out, and then they'll have to send something in as an order to.
There'll have to be another order filed.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
to
But I think he
create
wants
it.
the process to start.
Yeah, process.
Am I correct on that, Counselor Murphy?
Yeah, I'm just looking for the engineer to come out and make
Weigh
a
in.
recommendation as to where we should put these.
Okay.
Well, why wouldn't we just use the normal, like, send it to committee with a copy to the engineer? I mean,
Let's do it that way.
I'll do it that way.
Faster.
You didn't ask them to establish them.
Yeah, so, anyway, so motion is that it is going to ordinance, and the engineer will take a look at it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 24 is from Counselor Murphy. Order that the mayor provide the city council a list of all cannabis companies that the city currently has a community host agreement with and provide the best estimates as to when it might begin. Please forward to the full city council by December 17th meeting.
Make a
Motion to
motion to be
receive,
adopted
adopt.
and referred
Second.
to the mayor.
Under
copy to the
discussion?
mayor.
Again, just
Yep.
real quickly,
That's
I
fine.
know there have been some reviews of revenues from the cannabis industry from the state level, and I know Northampton had 10 community agreements and was working on some other ones, and they obviously knew what they were, and they were reporting them, and I just think we ought to get all the information up front, and to the best of our ability, have an idea through the bureaucratic situation when these facilities might be opening, both for community input, but also for financial planning. And so I'm just hoping the mayor will put, recommend or a letter to us explaining all the various agreements, what their financial impact would be when these situations open and when they might actually open.
Counselor Lisi?
I was just going to say, I think that OPED, I don't know if OPED was copied on this order. I didn't hear exactly where you were sending it to, but I think they have a working document of that sort at this moment.
So you could say motion is receive, adopt, refer to mayor, copy to OPED.
That'd be fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 25 from Counselor Tallman, that the DPW install truck signs at both ends of Bemis, exclusion signs.
Truck exclusion, yeah, if you, there's a constituent concern on Bemis, if they could maybe, I don't know, that will have to go to committee ordinance, or could they just put the signs up, or does it have to be
If you want them enforced, it'll have to be
enforced?
ordered.
Yeah.
It's an issue, yeah.
There is a sign on both sides, down the top and the bottom, that just says local traffic only. You can't, I mean,
That's-
whoever goes there,
That's
but,
unenforceable.
yeah, but the
Right.
people that are going, there's some larger trucks, you know, like, except for deliveries, I think there's one on Parker Street and Hamden and a couple other throughout the city, where they could put, you know, yeah, Dartmouth Street, I think there's one. It's a exclusion, truck
There's
exclusion.
tests they have to do to see if they can go there, but we can send it.
We can send it to ordinance then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, so adding Counselor Leahy,
Second.
Counselor McGee, and motion is to send to ordinance. Counselor Leahy.
Yeah, just very quickly, I filed a similar order, it's a good order, some time ago, and those signs that are enforceable, those are the signs that went up. So let's change those. But I know in the meeting years ago, one of the biggest concerns too was trucks going through, where the old Sir Thomas Donahue house was, there's kind of like a hairpin, not a hairpin turn, but a big turn.
Yeah.
And multiple trucks had issues with that, especially when other cars were coming down, and especially during the winter. So I think it's a good order. I did file it, so I'd like to be on to that.
Sure, no
Thank you.
problem. Yep.
All right, so this is to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 26 from Counselor Tallman, that the Park and Rec and School Department consider bank shot play courts for diversity of our children in the community. So motion should be received.
Received and
adopt,
sent to the Parks Department and possibly the receiver for the schools. I think everybody must have got this email. There's some kind of a court for people with disabilities that it takes about half of a tennis court, and they have these like basketball, backboards. It's something to look at. I talked to Terry Shepard on this, and she's very receptive to it. And there's a possibility of possibly getting some grants to look out for the spring, possibly to maybe in one of the school playgrounds or maybe one of the tennis courts. Like I said, it takes half a tennis court. It'd be difficult because then you'd have to put up a wall or a fence. But just something that maybe we can look at, somewhere in the city.
Counselor Leahy.
Yeah, I'm going to be voting against this, not because I don't want children to play it or whatnot, but this was just one of those automatic emails that were sent to, I think, all elected officials in Western Massachusetts. And also, having said that, if we did decide to do this, we would have to go out for an RFP because it would be over the price. So I don't think we should name a company in a specific order. So I'll be voting against this.
So motion is to receive, adopt, send to Park and Rec. And the.
The receiver.
school-
Just
the
do
receiver.
research.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And 27 from Councilor Aiken, that the DPW fill the crack at Autumn Drive. They are deep and increasing in size.
Receive, adopt, and refer to DPW to add to the list for the spring, please.
Motion to receive, adopt, send to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There is one last late file from Councilor McGee and Bartley. That the city council invite the superintendent of DPW to discuss the plowing issues on December 2nd and 3rd of 2019. Send it to
Probably go to public safety. I would
Public
imagine.
safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There's nothing further.
All right,
Motion would be to adjourn. All in favor? All
Second,
opposed?
aye.